interesting because it shows that the work you do in your organisation sits in this, let's call it a spectrum of services which meet a whole load of needs. But the most interesting bit there was that what you offer in the Borders is very much driven by the needs of the people in the Borders. And I presume working in partnership with all these other agencies as well.
Yeah, so our biggest referrer is social work.
Yeah.
So that's by a mile really, our biggest referrer is social work. So, you know, quite often social work will be called in where, you know, there's been a kind of an incident, or they'll, you know, be investigating, you know, things like neglect and stuff like that, and they'll refer to us for that kind of specialist abuse and trauma recovery work. Yeah. We get a lot of referrals from school nurses as well, and teachers, pastoral support in schools and things like that. So, yeah. Right, go on.
Could you give referral from anyone really?
Anybody can refer to us.
Right.
Yeah.
So even like a private people?
Yeah. You can do self-referrals, anybody can refer to us. There's no barrier to referral. Yeah. I can send you copies of kind of referral forms so you can see what they look like and things like that. So, yeah. I'll talk you through some of these documents. So,
work, sorry, is it just, probably no, but like the negative side, or do you do like, say you've got a kid that like it's not been neglected, it's just got anxiety problems at school, would you focus on that, or no, really, like you?
not really, no, that would be Quarriers, or perhaps the school nurse. The school nurses are all trained in low-level anxiety management, so they can offer a kind of intervention. I can't remember how many weeks it's over. It might be 12 weeks where that's around kind of, you know, specific stuff around.
Like about abuse and.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But we also we do work a lot kind of wider than that. We work with a lot of. So the trauma aspect is a bit more difficult to explain, really, and trauma can be so wide and varied, and you know what's traumatic for one person might not be for another. So, you know, we do. You know, it isn't just kind of about young people who've experienced abuse. It's much wider than that. As I say, we work with around complex bereavement, so where, you know, there's been, you know, things like parental suicide or suicide within the family, and where it's quite kind of tragic, you know, circumstances, quite traumatic death, really.
Sorry, would those sessions be, would each child would have session on their own, like
Yes.
one-to-one?
Yeah.
So it's not like the kids sort of like youth whatever out there just go in.
No, we see them out in the community. We work Scottish borders wide.
Right.
So we only have 2 staff that offer that work, but we work right across this. There's nowhere we won't go in the Scottish borders, basically.
So you basically go to someone's house.
We generally assess people in their home, so we might do a little assessment of need in the home, but we'd work out in the community. So we work in schools, we work in family centres, we work in churches. I'm trying to think where else.
Safe places.
Safe places, yeah. And that work's always confidential unless there is a real specific concern where we have to pass that on to kind of child protection, you know, where that child is not safe, basically, and we have to pass that concern on. But that work's done very confidentially. We can share it with parents and things like that where we have the child's permission.
So what's the age? Would you be concerned about someone who's 16 already? As it like works until they're 18, or depends on the.
So we can work with children as young as 3, and we work right up to 18. But if somebody was working with us when they turned 18, we wouldn't kind of stop that work, if you know what I mean. We'd work past, as long as they were kind of referred before their 18th birthday, we'd always work past that. Yeah. So, I thought I'd talk a little bit about kind of aims and objectives of the organisation as a whole. So, you know, that's kind of our little mission statement at the top there. So a happy, healthy and safe, secure childhood for every child and young person in Scotland. So, you know what, Children First, you know, we have all these kind of services in different areas, but as a whole we want to sort of seek to kind of be an influence on society and a kind of, and that, you know, making sure that kind of that the child is at the forefront of kind of policy, and you know, we do a lot around policy work really. So I'll just scroll down a bit on that. So there's kind of, I've passed all these on to Simon so you can
These are documents that
yeah.
appeared on Edmodo last night, so you've got access to all of these in Edmodo, okay?
So yeah, those are at the bottom there. Those are all the kind of work areas that we cover as an organisation. So family support, as I talked about, abuse and trauma recovery, child protection, the voice of children, sustainability and impact.
And are they links there when you go on them, like for each? No. It's just a poster. Isn't it?
It's just like it's just like a poster, but the Children First website is really good. You can kind of dip into all of this stuff and kind of look into it a bit deeper.
I'll second that. It really is good. There's also a link to the website on Edmodo as well. It's all there. One of the things you mentioned there, Sarah, just while you're loading up the next one, is you said about putting the child at the forefront of child centre. Does that ring a bell with any of the legislation we've been looking at? Yeah, Becca's nodding. Anybody else nodding? It's there. What's it called? The NCRC, United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. It's there. Child fulfillment has to be taken into account and all that kind of stuff. And that's a really important part of all agencies that work along these lines.
And that's why we're called Children First, is because, you know, that's yeah, basically. Yeah, so when we changed our name to kind of, that's really what we wanted to reflect. So these are our kind of, we have 4 quite simple values as an organisation. So respect, integrity, participation and excellence. So the participation one is interesting because what we do is we seek to get active involvement from children and young people in policy really. You know, we've had, particularly from the Borders, we're quite we've been quite good at putting children's stories forward, or getting, you know, creating opportunities for children from the Borders to influence national policy.
I need to pause there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a really important thing that Sarah's just said. Because remember, this assessment is all about how does organisation or agency help young people to get their voices heard? How does it help young people protect their own rights? So this that you're about to say, I'm thinking is very, very important. So notes, ladies and gentlemen.
Particularly around court process and things like that. So we've had young people from the Borders who have had influence in government policy around how children experience the court process. So that's when children are called as witnesses in court cases, and that can happen quite often. Happens quite often in domestic abuse and things like that. So, you know, children are often witnesses to serious incidents.
What did you say that, like, kids have, like, no for the court, for the government, what have they done, like, your stories for here, they have to pass?
So they contribute to sort of national policy really. So, you know, we use children's stories to influence
Like
national,
changing it,
yeah,
making it better.
yeah. Kind of when they kind of put legislation out for consultation, you know, we'll put children and young people forward to have their voices heard within that, because that can quite often, you know, children sometimes are the last people to be consulted about laws that are made, you know, to help them, if you know what I mean.
And so by doing that, the children help and shape that policy, which in turn shapes the way we treat children in society. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, definitely.
And that's really important, that's central to what this is all about.
So, I thought I'd talk to you about